We used to run head first at each other. So thank God for helmets. Otherwise, I'm not sure we would have made it past adolescence with our masculine fervor to break each other's necks. I wrote the poem Backyard Football about the idea of a false sense of security that helmets provide for football players. Because on the one hand, the reason that we put them on is because we believe that by putting them on, we are going to be protected. On the other hand, what happens when you put the helmet on is not that all of a sudden you're more careful. When you put the helmet on, all of a sudden now you believe it's okay to play this game, and that when you get hit and you get your bell rung, that you'll be protected from the consequences. And the reason that's a false sense of security is because that's not the truth. Clearly there are issues, and we've seen the issues. There's CTE, there's people, kids of all ages harming themselves, killing themselves, committing suicide at all levels of the sport. And whether or not it's directly from head-to-head collisions or not, there's no doubt about it that putting yourself in a situation where your head is colliding with somebody else's head on a regular basis is not good for kids. In any other realm, the helmet is a protective mechanism when the worst case scenario happens. When you're biking, you put on a helmet for the risk that if you fall and you hit your head, you're not going to completely just end yourself, right? In hockey, the helmet is not used on a regular basis. It's used as a protective mechanism in the worst case scenario. But in football, you put the helmet on, and for some positions, it's not directly used as a weapon. But for the majority of the team, for the majority of the positions, the helmet is used as a weapon. As a linebacker, I was a linebacker. When you put the helmet on and you put the shoulder pads on and you're defending against the run, what you're doing is you have to use your head as a way to get blockers off of you. And so even though we're being taught not to use our head, if you don't use your head, you will not succeed in the sport. Every time you get on the field and you're in a position where it requires you to use your head, whether it's special teams, linebacker, defensive line, offensive line, even any receivers and defensive backs, no matter who you are except for specialists, you're going to be using your head at some point, and it's going to be hit on a regular basis. Now, you could say that, well, we don't have evidence that is negative against, that is consequence. There are long-term consequences for kids experiencing violent head-to-head collisions on a regular basis. And just think about that statement right there, where it's violent head-to-head collisions for young kids. We don't allow kids to drive until they're 16 years old. They're not ready for it. Their brains aren't developed to the point where they're able to make a good decision on the road. We don't allow kids to drink until they're 21 because their brains aren't developed. That's not something that they should be able to handle at such an early age. Most of the time, not most of the time, but some of the times we do so anyways. But that is something that the law and good parenting has done to prevent kids from making decisions beyond their conscious awareness. As kids, we don't know what's best for us. That's why we have parents to guide us through childhood. But when it comes to football, we're allowing the kids to make decisions because they really want to play the game, because it's so exciting, because everybody's playing it and they want to be a part of what's going on at school. It provides a sense of popularity. It's exciting. It's fun to play the game. It's a fun game. There's a reason why you want to play the game. There's a reason why you want to put your helmet on, and there's a reason why you want to risk your body to do so. But as I've mentioned, it's the only place in life in which we're using a helmet not to protect ourselves, but to use as a weapon against somebody else. It's not good for either party. And these kids they're not ready. You're not ready. We're not sending our kids to war until 18, and even that's not good for them. But we're willing to put our kids in a helmet, send them onto the field, and allow them to bang their heads against each other as if that's not going to affect them. Now, I don't want to place blame on anybody here, on any parent, on my parents, or on anybody, because it's the idea that putting your kids through something physical and challenging and tough, it's exciting. There's a cultural phenomenon about it. It's almost a cult type thing. It's what we grow up in. It's normalized now to allow your kids to play football. And so I'm not blaming anybody because it's just what we know. But I think it's time to wake up to the fact that this sport, which could be a good sport without the violence, the only reason that it's one of the America's sport now is because it's so violent. It wouldn't make the money. It wouldn't have the draw, the attraction. It wouldn't provide the addiction that it does if it weren't for the violence. It's a great sport. If you watch people playing flag football without helmets, without tackling each other, it's fantastic. People running down the sideline, quarterbacks throwing amazing balls, wide receivers catching touchdowns, defenders making interceptions, making great plays, the camaraderie, the teamwork, everything. But you put the helmets and the pads on and you make it about the violence. We're talking about a whole different situation here. It's not good. It's not good for the kids. It's not good for the people watching it. It's not good for the coaches. Because what happens when you put the helmet on, and this goes back to the false sense of security, because it's a positive reinforcement cycle. You want to believe that it's good, so you'll protect it. You'll protect the thing that is harming you because it provides a sense of security to you, a false sense of security. And that false sense of security is that you think it's good for you, but what's happening underneath is that you are not moving in the same manner as you would if you didn't have it. Let's say you had $1 million. You're going to move in a certain way. You're going to buy certain things. You're going to behave in a certain way. You're going to, probably depends on the job you have or wherever you got the money, that decides how you move. Now, if that $1 million was automatically taken away, you would move differently. It's something, and it depends on what you value. If that's something that you value most and that's taken away, well, then you're screwed. What do you have left? It's not like that can't be returned to you. It's not like you can't get it back, but if it's gone and that's what you value most, well, then you have nothing left to live for. Whereas in reality, if that's gone, what do you have to live for? Well, you're still alive, dude. You don't have the money, but you're still alive. And whatever got you the money in the first place, well, whatever you did that time can certainly be done again. And as long as you're alive, you still have a chance. You always have a chance when you're alive. But if that's your sense of security, and you'll do anything to protect that, what are you doing in the meantime? You're going to move differently. You put the helmet on, you move differently. You take the helmet off, you move differently. Perfect. I had a football coaching business just 2 years ago, and we did drills without the helmet on, and we did full tackling drills without the helmet on. What happened was that these kids were not going head to head against each other and destroying each other and hurting each other. In fact, because the helmets were off, it wasn't a game. Granted, there wasn't anything on the line. Sense of identity was on the line, and so take it with a grain of salt. But when you're tackling people without a helmet on, you're going to tackle differently because you don't want to hurt your face, dude. No one wants to hurt their face. Of course you don't. You want to protect it. You're not going to go headfirst into a crowd of hungry football players. That would be dumb. That would be really dumb. You're not going to go headfirst to make the tackle. You're going to figure out a way to get the guy on the ground without it. It's like in rugby. These guys don't have helmets on, and they're tackling people to the ground. They learn how to tackle and defend themselves naturally. The helmet and the football pads encourage you to move in ways that are unnatural because it's a false sense of security. And because it's a false sense of security, you think you're okay to do things you never would do. And so at the end of this game that we're playing, all the while you had this protective measure around you telling you that you could do these things. At the end of it, what's left is that your mind has been broken. And whether or not, as I talked about earlier, there are football players of all ages who do not make it, who kill themselves because of CTE, because of the repetitive head-to-head trauma. And so if there are kids that are killing themselves, that's the far end of the spectrum. There's a much larger majority that are suffering the consequences of repetitive, violent head-to-head trauma that are not to that level, but are still experiencing a massive decline in their cognition and their psychology, especially when everything they've been fighting to become, they've always wanted to become a football player. They've always thought that that was their ticket. For a lot of these guys, their backs are against the wall. They have nothing left to live for. Everything, 100% of their energy, 100% of their family's encouragement is for them to become football players. And they don't have a backup plan. So when it's over and they're willing to do whatever it takes, put it all on the line, sacrifice yourself to make the play, to get yourself to the next level so you can make money. But when it's all over, what do you have? You have a bag of money? Probably not. And your body's broken. Your mind is hollowed. You've decided, based on this false sense of security, that what's more important to you is the hope for money instead of your health. But if you have, like we talked about earlier, if you have a bunch of money and you don't have your health and that money goes away, which it will, what do you have?